Week 8 is here, and we've got an early look at some against the spread picks.
The Early Edge.
So top 3 spreads go 1 and 2 last week. We got bit by the Commanders' entire offense not playing. We had their -1.5 as a top spread early in the week. If you happen to wait and you got the updated pick when that changed and the Cowboys were favored, then you got that. You would have been on the Cowboys side. Still on a nice little 6-3 run since we moved to showcasing just the top 3 on this segment. And we've got 3 this week, plus a little bonus pick that's outside the top 5, but I think worth a look based off some of the early data. I'll pull them up here and we'll dive right in. One of these is a team that's already been discussed on this episode, and that's the Bears 6.5 at the Ravens. It's 57% probability, 5.7% edge. You can get that -105 on BetMGM. Bears, as mentioned, look like they're right on the cusp of being an actual really good team. They're 4 wins in a row, I believe you said, Greg. Now they get that exploitable Ravens defense that has been tasked all season long. 28th ranked versus the pass, 3rd most touchdowns allowed, 27th ranked versus the rush at 134 yards per game, and tied for the 2nd most touchdowns allowed on the ground. Expectation is that Lamar returns after this bye week, as was kind of anticipated and alluded to before, but he didn't practice on Monday, so that still remains kind of up in the air. Even if he does play, we talked about how he didn't look quite himself before the injury. Hamstring injury is very wildly. Look at Egbuka, who didn't miss time. He only missed like half a game. He didn't look quite there, though. If Lamar is not all the way back, but they feel inclined to play him to try and salvage the season, you may have to wonder how mobile he'll be. This Bears backfield is getting a lot more interesting as Kyle Monangai had his best game of the week. We're going to talk about that later in the fantasy waiver wire segment. A 2-headed rushing attack is far more daunting versus an exploitable rushing defense than a single back you could kind of focus your attention on. And Monangai and Swift went for almost 200 combined total yards. I think they might have cleared that if you count their rushing and receiving. So while the Bears rushing defense isn't great, and the Ravens do have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, neither of them have looked to be their usual self this year. Maybe this is the game they get going, but I think the Bears are in a really great position here as almost full touchdown dogs. I know you, Greg, would like the 7.5 or the +7 at least, but it's seems to be a really good spot for the Bears, the way that both these teams are trending.
I'll take 6. I'll take anything over a field goal here. Truly, I'm stunned by this line. It just has to be the assumption that Lamar Jackson's back. Even with Lamar Jackson, this team's been bad. This team has not earned this type of belief from the sports books, even with a healthy quarterback. Again, the Bears are playing great football right now. I think this is like a statement type opportunity for them where if you look beneath the surface, yes, it's still the Baltimore Ravens. It's not the Ravens from the last 5 years. It's just not. This is by far the worst version we've seen. They're super banged up, even if Lamar plays. I think this is like the play of the year for me at an early glance, and I'm glad the model backs it up because I had it all over my personal card.
And it's not like the Chiefs, right? Where we're like, oh, it's still the Chiefs. We could kind of say that. Like the Ravens are missing a lot of defensive guys, but their offense is loaded and should be rolling, and they simply haven't. The Chiefs were doing, scraping by without their full strength offense, and now it's there. And doesn't feel like the Ravens are a game away from the level that the Chiefs have reached in this one. I'm not sure what the money line value is in this game. But it's probably worth a look. And maybe if you're a big fan of that Bears spread, see if you can take it 3.5, take it 3, get a better price. But yeah, everything seems like it's trending in Chicago's favor here. Next one, Vikings, kind of going back to one that we had last week. +3 against the Chargers here, -110, 56.5% probability, 5.2% edge there. I don't know why the odds didn't show up in the screenshot. I just noticed, but yeah, -110. I think you can get it at. This is a Thursday night game, so quick turnaround for both teams reeling from a loss. Vikings had all the chances to close it out against the Eagles, which was one of our top spreads and one of our bets of the week. They had the lead with 4 minutes to go. Got possibly robbed on a Hawkinson touchdown that was overturned. So, they were right there. What they're gonna do on the short week is obviously the biggest question. Chargers crumbling here, 27 plus points allowed in the last 3 games. Their only win since week 3 was against the Dolphins, with everything on the line. This past week they led a 21 play drive that turned over on downs at the Colts 45. It was just like a really sad kind of display of a team that really needs things to turn around, and it doesn't feel like that's going to get any easier for them on the short week. This past game was probably the only real blemish for the Vikings defense this season. They got pretty burned by the Eagles wideouts, although they did still manage to hold A.J. Brown to just 4 catches. He did most of his damage on a single play. Projects as a 2-point win for the Chargers in our final score. So it's certainly a close one. I do like the Vikings getting the high value signal alongside the cover. We've seen that work out the most often is when the edge is represented by that signal. So probably another play for me here. Be curious to see what you think about this one, Greg, given you were all up on the Vikings last week with me.
It's a novice better mistake to feel burned by a team and let it linger into the next week. But I think that is where I'm at with Minnesota right now until they get some quarterback clarity. We did talk about it last week, and look, Carson Wentz was worse than I think either one of us expected last week. Just some erratic plays that certainly set that team back. It swung the game. I don't know what McCarthy is. I think he's going to come back. I mean, if Wentz has not won the job, right? He has not emerged as the guy that's going to pull a Sam Darnold for this team the way we thought might happen. McCarthy was supposed to be back last week and was ruled out late. So I at this point, until we have clarity, I find it hard to put much faith in them. Clearly, the model thinks Minnesota is just a good football team, and they're not bad, right? They're 500 with close loss to Philadelphia isn't the end of the world. But from a personal standpoint, I really don't want part of it until we get clarity under center. I'm not surprised the model continues to show value in Minnesota at all, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty much aligned with you there, Greg. This is one that I'd be happy to wait on. Obviously, we're going to talk about this game much more in depth on Thursday when we do our Thursday Night Football preview anyway. So I don't think there's a rush to grab this one. Whereas with the Bears pick, if Lamar doesn't practice again today or tomorrow, or there's an update there, you probably won't get this number, especially if Lamar doesn't play. So whereas that's one I'd want to jump on now. I'm fine not touching the Vikings till Thursday. Let's see what we get with the most up-to-date projections from the model.
Yep.
And let's close out with one that I was more than happy to put in here. Cowboys +3 on the road in Denver. A game I was actually hoping to go to before the season, but scrapped those plans. But that's okay. 56.5% probability, 6.6 or 5% edge here. Almost even money, depending where you get it. I did see it at +100. So if you can get that, of course, go for there. Something's got to give in this one, right? You have the pretty much best offense in the NFL, scoring at will, and the second best defense in the NFL, holding teams to nothing at will. You could say the Cowboys offense might be a little bit of a product of opponent, but even when they played good teams, they still scored. The games were going over. The team's healthy. It's loaded on offense. Dak Prescott's playing out of his mind. The Broncos' second-rate defense by points allowed certainly set up to slow them down. Best red zone defense in the NFL, only 28.6% touchdown rate to opponents when inside the 20. The Cowboys have been pretty good at scoring down there. This is probably not going to be a big Javonte Williams game. I would definitely temper expectations for touchdown upside if you were playing him in fantasy. Looks like not literally anyone can beat the Cowboys defense, as the Commanders B squad couldn't really get anything going, much to my chagrin. I was really all in on Luke McCaffrey doing some work on Sunday, and he was basically just on a milk carton. So that was disappointing. This obviously is going to be a little bit different. This isn't a B squad, though the receiver room is far from the strongest in the NFL, with Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims taking up spots 2 and 3 there. Couple little notes I got. Bo Nix rushing ladder, probably interesting in this one. Cowboys allowing the second most yards to quarterbacks on the ground. Their 0.4 touchdowns per game to quarterbacks is the second worst mark, or tied for the second worst mark in the NFL. And this game's in Denver. Brandon Aubrey might kick a 75-yard field goal in this. Like,
I
straight
mean,
up. The guy might just...
First off, I hope so. Second of all, can you imagine if you call that? Like, I've texted you a couple times throughout the weeks of doing the show. Like, dude, you got to clip that. You nailed that perfectly. Like, this would be your wildest one yet. Brandon Aubrey from 75.
It would be. I'm going to see if there's any way I can possibly bet that some market related to that, you know. But he's just so good, and they're gonna let him, you know, they're gonna take the kickoff. Sorry, they're gonna take the kickoff, run it out to 35, and just immediately trot out the field goal unit and let him just boot one, get the record, and call it a day, regardless of what happens in this game.
Yeah, I love it. I weirdly feel like I want to buy into Dallas. I feel like their record doesn't necessarily show how good that offense has been. Obviously, the defense opens the door for anybody, but maybe a reminder, there are some bad offenses in this league. And as good as Denver can be at times, Bo Nix had that historic fourth quarter. There aren't some weapons I really love here. I don't love the running back room. I don't think he's throwing to guys that would play on any other team in the league for the most part. This is a team, I mean, give them credit for the comeback. This is a team that was down 4 scores to New York. Like that's not exactly a great data point. You've got to score for 4 quarters, not just 1 quarter, to keep up with Dallas. So I stand in alignment with the model on this one. Throw that over in there. Let's take that cheat code and keep it moving. You've got a bonus pick for us here as well, and it's a team that came away with a victory on Sunday night. San Francisco getting 1.5 in Houston.
Yes, this is just an interesting one to me because you can see it plus 1.5. I've seen it basically a pick 'em, Texans minus 0.5. But depending on where you look, the 49ers and Texans are almost the same odds on the money line. I think I saw minus 104 and minus 112, minus 115. So it's just kind of a basic, if you're getting almost the same odds on teams to win, both are quite literally favored on the money line. The guy that, or the team with the plus 1.5 is probably the better bet. 53.5% probability for the Niners to cover plus 1.5 on the road against the Texans, who are coming off a really great game. Statement by the defense that cost me a fantasy matchup that I was certain I was already winning. And yeah, so it's just a good spot for me. If it's a best bet, we'll talk about it on Thursday with our week 8 best bets. But I just think it's one worth looking at given the seemingly better ceiling for the 49ers here and pretty much same odds on the money line on the books.
Yep. All right. There you have it. 4 picks for the price of 3 today. For the price of 1 Dimers Pro, you can get Dimers Pro, but 50% off. So half a Dimers Pro. Promo code podcast. Make sure you get it. That's how you get your early insights for every single week 8 NFL game and plenty more.